Welcome back. It's time for the News Schmooze.
Karm, we had you spitting out a Ricola live on a podcast a couple weeks ago, and we made a little reel of it. And believe it or not, Ricola responded on Instagram.
The Swiss company.
Those Swiss bastards responded. And you know what they said? That you could enjoy it twice since you put it into a napkin.
No, I didn't put it into a napkin. I put it back into its own wrapper because we started our session.
Right, but they said that you could take it out of the wrapper and enjoy it for a second time. But the reason I bring it up is I feel like this is the one time in my life I actually need a Ricola. I would ask you about Jason Solomon and the whole saga, the Dan Merkel story, but we have not interviewed him yet, and I'm not going to go down that road. We do that every week, so we're going to do the news schmooze here. Remember last week we talked about the first time in 50 years that lawmakers were going to have a hearing on UFOs?
Yeah, that was our guy.
That was our guy. Dr. Avi Loeb was one of them. Well, it happened. It finally happened. Key lawmakers warned at a House hearing just yesterday that unidentified aerial phenomena, it's funny, so the government calls it UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, popularly known as UFOs. They say that they must be investigated and taken seriously as a potential threat to national security. This event marked the first congressional public hearing on UFOs in decades, a high-profile moment for a controversial topic that has long been relegated to the fringes of public policy. What's interesting is that these hearings in Congress, they go on for days. Nothing happens. You sit there, you fall asleep, you look at Steny Hoyer, if he's still alive, and he's nodding off. This one lasted all of 90 minutes. Man, it's definitely not COVID. I took a COVID test. It came back negative, but I'm having trouble breathing.
Can I just?
Yeah.
What's interesting?
Yeah.
You know, I said that I'm like not up. I'm a little on the downside.
Yes.
And I know now where it started. For some reason, I won't say what happened with Roy yesterday and today. Nothing major. He's okay. But I started to think.
You know, we're right in the middle of the news schmooze.
I don't care. It's very dangerous to think, because suddenly I thought of this. Here we are on this tiny little planet of very non-existent significance in an unbelievably gigantic cosmos that we cannot even grasp. And we are so small that from my upper floor apartment, the people downstairs look like ants. And here we are making these unbelievable dramas. We are here for for the blink of an eye, and then we are gone, like we never exist. So these cheerful, upbeat thoughts created my down feeling.
Beautiful.
Thank
By the
you.
way, you got your first harsh criticism on a YouTube comment.
I wouldn't call it harsh.
From a Brit. And the reason I know he's a Brit is he referred to you as Mum.
Mum.
And he said that during the Ghislaine Maxwell, William Steele episode that you were, quote unquote, interrupting the guest too much and it aggravated him.
No. He said he couldn't find out who stooped whom.
Yeah, well, we need to respect the guest and not cut them off, which includes the host.
I think it's an excellent criticism and excellent suggestion.
Back to the unidentified aerial phenomenon. So Democratic Rep. Andre Carson of Indiana, the chairman of the panel holding the hearing, he warned in opening remarks that unidentified aerial phenomena are a potential national security threat. They need to be treated that way. He went on to say, for too long, the stigma associated with UAPs has gotten in the way of good intelligence analysis. Pilots avoided reporting or were laughed at when they did. Department of Defense officials relegated the issue to the back room or swept it under the rug entirely, fearful of a skeptical national security community. Today we know better. UAPs are unexplained, it's true, but they are real. They need to be investigated, and any threats they pose need to be mitigated. I'll ask you again, Carmen, I've asked you before. Do you believe that there is alien life nearby or even on this planet?
I told you this before. I went on record that there is life on other planets if they have the similar conditions to ours.
What's interesting, though,
They have
is
oxygen, they have the right temperature. We are very delicate, a little up, little down, and we're out.
but what if it's something like, what if there's alien life, but let's say they're just rectangles or parabolas?
You will, if you want to fall in love with one of them, you'll have to love rectangles.
No, I'm just saying, like, we assume that if there's extraterrestrial life, it's going to look and feel like humans,
it's
right?
Not. It's not.
What if an extraterrestrial life is something we've never even seen before?
And no, but it could be something that we see all the time, but we never realize that it's extraterrestrial. It's kind of,
That's interesting.
yeah.
But here's the thing. I want to get a guest on this show about ufology, someone who studies this. There are a lot of
ufology.
Ufology is this whole study. You never heard of that?
I never heard the term.
Like psychology, there's ufology. Yeah. On to the next story. This one I picked specifically for you.
Thank you. It's romantic.
A couple in India is suing their son, and it says here a couple in India.
Because he didn't give them children.
Here it says a couple in India are suing, but I think it's a couple in India is suing because a couple is singular, correct?
The mother and father are suing the son.
I need a grammar expert to let me know. Anyway, a couple in India is suing their son and daughter-in-law for not giving them grandchildren after 6 years of marriage. Sadhana and Sanjeev Prasad, who live in Haridwar, a city in North Uttarakhand state, filed a petition this month seeking 50 million Indian rupees, which is about $643,000 in damages from their son, 35, and his wife, 31. The petition, which was actually viewed by CNN, claims the married couple, spent about 20 million Indian rupees, or $257,000, raising their son, who is an only child. They say in this petition that they raised him, educated him, made him capable, made him a pilot, which was expensive. And the couple's legal representative, Arvind Srivastava, say that they see people in their neighborhood playing with their grandchildren and feel like they should also have one. And they say that as a couple ages, there is no one to take care of them. This is the parents. And that all parents wish to be grandparents one day. How do you feel,
Joel.
How do you feel about this?
Joel. Okay,
you were
Joel.
almost this couple. You were almost this couple.
How was I almost?
I almost didn't have kids.
Well, I had 5 granddaughters.
Yeah, but that's not the same.
May I say something?
In all fairness to my nieces.
May I say something? I already thank you. Every day you expect a phone call to thank you for the grandkids.
The greatest thing I ever did in my life was have children.
No, have these children.
Yeah, my kids are wild, man. They behaved really well in LA for a 24-hour trip. What did you think of Zizi at her talent show?
Oh, I wish we could show the video.
My daughter did, her kindergarten class did it was a show like through the decades, and she was the 1920s, right?
Yeah, and she was great.
She sang a song called Baby, Oh Baby.
Yeah, something.
She twirled an umbrella, bring a tear to my eye. On to the third story. A team from Kyoto University, do you know where that is, Karm?
Yeah, in Japan.
Very good. Found that cats not only recognize their own names, but also show that they can match up names with the faces of other cats that they're familiar with. The findings point to cats having the same ability to learn human words that dogs display, even if cats would rather have their owners think that they're ignoring them. And one of the things that they were able to come to this conclusion with or about is that when they would stump the cat with a name, the cat would just stare at them. Like it would be a longer stare, as though they were a little confused.
May I say something?
It's funny because Matt Brode had a cat named Ari, which we switched it to Ira, which then became Iris. And all Iris would do for his entire life on this earth for 19 years was just stare into space. But all along, it turns out he knew his name. You'd call his name, he would just stare into space.
May I say something to you?
Yes.
You just overlooked something very significant.
I'm having trouble breathing today. What?
Kyoto is in Japan.
Yes.
Those were Japanese cats. If they can speak Japanese, they are more than geniuses.
It's amazing.
If they understand Japanese commands, and they must be very well, the generation to generation just developed amazingly. They probably speak English very easily.
This reminds me of a funny story unrelated to cats, but related to Japan. And if this happened today, she'd be canceled. But the fact that she was a drunk pill-popping anchor 10 years ago, she was able to get away with it. And that is Diane Sawyer. After the tsunami in Japan, the face of ABC News, Diane Sawyer, she went and she didn't realize she was doing it, but she was speaking like Japan English to the Jap. So she was like, "How do you feel?" Like Diane Sawyer was going, "How do you feel that the water ran you over? How do you feel?" And it was so racist and inappropriate. And if that happened today, by the way, I read that Matt Lauer just sold his house in Hamptons, and I was reading it to Ileana, selling it for $50 million. She's like, I forgot that guy existed. You told me that news is like chutes and ladders. One day you're up, one day you're down. The guy was on the cover of People magazine, who's the biggest news anchor in America. You think he would rather have the money or rather work?
I think he would rather work.
You think he's upset?
Yeah.
You think it ruined his life?
People like fame.
You think Matt Lauer's life was ruined by this?
Very honestly, yes.
Thank God. Love to hear that. Okay.
What a bitter little boy.